I was standing behind the counter of my own small shop the day my phone started buzzing nonstop, and with every vibration, 12 years of silence came crashing back into my chest. It was my mother calling, then my aunt, then cousins I hadn't heard from since I was in my early 20s. That was the moment I realized my sister had finally lost control of the lie she'd built about me, the lie that turned my entire family against me and got me cut off for 12 long years. So I need to ask you right now, before I tell you how all of this started and how it ended, was I wrong for walking away from them when they finally came crawling back? Would you have forgiven them after what they did to me? To understand why this moment mattered so much, you need to know how close my sister and I used to be, and how brutally that bond was destroyed. Growing up, it was just the two of us against the world. Our parents worked constantly, money was always tight, and we learned early how to rely on each other. I was the older one by 3 years, so I naturally became the protector, the fixer, the one who stepped in when things went wrong. My sister Lily was charming, funny, and incredibly good at getting people on her side. Everyone loved her. Teachers, neighbors, relatives. She had this way of telling stories that made her sound like the hero even, when she wasn't. Back then, I didn't see it as manipulation. I thought it was just confidence. As adults, our paths started to separate. I was never interested in a traditional career. I hated office politics and the idea of working my whole life to make someone else rich. I dreamed of owning something of my own, even if it was small. Lily, on the other hand, chased status. She wanted the big house, the fancy car, the approval of everyone around her. Our parents adored her ambition. They worried about me. They'd say things like, "When are you going to settle down?" Or "You can't live on dreams forever." Lily would smile sympathetically, like she was concerned for me too. The real trouble started when our grandmother got sick. She was the backbone of our family, the one person who always believed in me without question. She also owned a small property on the edge of town, an old building she'd rented out to local vendors for decades. When her health declined, Lily suddenly became very involved. She handled appointments, talked to doctors, and positioned herself as the responsible one. I helped where I could, but I was also juggling 2 part-time jobs and trying to save money to start my own business. I trusted Lily. That was my biggest mistake. When my grandmother passed away, everything exploded. The will left the property to be split between Lily and me. On paper, it was simple. In reality, Lily saw an opportunity. She wanted to sell the property immediately and use her half as a down payment on a house. I wanted to keep it. I saw potential. I wanted to renovate it slowly and turn it into a small marketplace for local creators. It wasn't a crazy idea, but it required patience. Lily accused me of being selfish, of holding her back, of trying to control her future. Our parents sided with her instantly. To them, selling was the smart choice. Then Lily did something I never saw coming. She told our parents, and eventually the entire family, that I had pressured our grandmother to change the will, that I'd manipulated her when she was sick. She cried while telling the story. She said she was scared of me. She said I'd always been jealous of her, and that this was my way of getting revenge. None of it was true, not a single word, but she delivered it so convincingly that people believed her without ever asking me for my side. I remember sitting in my parents' living room, surrounded by family members, feeling like I was on trial. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father told me he was ashamed, and Uncle asked how I could live with myself. Every time I tried to speak, Lily would sob louder, and someone would tell me to stop upsetting her. In one afternoon, I went from being a daughter and sister to being a villain. They told me to leave. They said they needed space from my toxicity. That was the last time I spoke to most of them for over a decade. I was devastated, not just hurt, but hollowed out. I questioned my own memories, my own worth. I replayed every interaction with Lily, wondering how I'd missed the signs. For months, I barely functioned. I lost one of my jobs because I couldn't focus. Friends tried to support me, but they couldn't replace my family. The silence was the worst part. Holidays passed with no invitations. Birthdays came and went without a single message. It felt like I'd been erased. Eventually, survival kicked in. I had to pay rent. I had to eat. I threw myself into work and into my dream. I scraped together what little savings I had and found a tiny, run-down space to rent. It wasn't the property I'd imagined, but it was something. I started small, selling handmade items and hosting other local creators on consignment. The first year was brutal. Some days I made less than $10. I questioned myself constantly, but every time I thought about giving up, I thought about how my family saw me. I refused to let Lily's lie be the end of my story. Years passed like that, slowly, painfully, but forward. My shop gained a loyal following. People liked the community feel, the honesty of it. I worked ridiculous hours, learned everything the hard way, and made mistakes that nearly broke me. There were nights I slept on the shop floor because I couldn't afford the commute home. There were months I lived on instant noodles. But there was also pride. For the first time, I was building something that was mine. About 6 years in, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Lily had sold the property, just like she wanted. She bought her house. She posted pictures online of family dinners I wasn't invited to. From the outside, it looked like she'd won. I won't lie, it hurt. But it also hardened me. I stopped hoping for reconciliation. I accepted that I might never clear my name. Then, almost 12 years after the day I was cut off, everything changed. My business finally hit a turning point. A local journalist did a feature on independent shops, and mine was included. The article went semi-viral in our community. Foot traffic exploded. Sales tripled. I was finally able to hire help. For the first time since I was young, I felt secure. And that's when Lily's lie began to unravel. Someone sent the article to my aunt, then to my mother. People started asking questions. They remembered the old property and connected the dots. They wondered how I could be so successful if I was the manipulative failure Lily had painted me as. Eventually, someone confronted my sister, and under pressure, she cracked. It came out that she'd exaggerated, twisted, and outright fabricated parts of her story. She admitted she was afraid I'd convince the family to keep the property, and that she'd lose her chance at the life she wanted. That's when the calls started. That's where we circle back to me standing in my shop, staring at my buzzing phone. My mother left a voicemail crying, saying she wanted to explain. My father texted asking to meet. Relatives sent messages like nothing had happened, as if 12 years of silence were a minor misunderstanding. So that was the situation I was in. After being cut off, blamed, and abandoned for over a decade, the same people who never defended me suddenly wanted back into my life. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause for a second and think about what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have forgiven them immediately because they're family? Or would you have protected the life you built without them? I didn't answer right away. I needed time. I replayed that day in my parents' living room over and over. I remembered how alone I felt, how desperately I wanted someone, anyone, to ask me if I was okay. No one had, not once. Eventually, I agreed to meet my parents, but only them, and only in a neutral place. The meeting was awkward and heavy. My mother cried a lot. My father apologized in a stiff, uncomfortable way. They said they should have listened to me. They said they were manipulated. I asked them one simple question. Why didn't you ever call me? Why didn't you check on me even once in 12 years? They didn't have a good answer. They talked about pride, about not knowing how to fix things. To me, it sounded like excuses. Lily never showed up. She sent a message saying she needed time and hoped we could talk someday. That was the final confirmation I needed. She wasn't sorry. She was just exposed. In the end, I didn't slam the door in their faces. But I didn't throw it wide open either. I told my parents we could start with occasional contact, but things would never be the same. As for Lily, I told them I had no interest in rebuilding a relationship with someone who destroyed my life to get ahead. That boundary cost me some relatives all over again, but this time I was prepared. Today, my business is thriving. I've expanded, partnered with other creators, and even mentor people who remind me of my younger self. I've built a chosen family that supports me without conditions. The pain of those 12 years hasn't vanished, but it no longer defines me. Losing my family forced me to become stronger, more self-reliant and more compassionate toward myself. So that's my story. It's about betrayal, survival, and what happens when the truth finally catches up. If you were on my side through all of this, make sure to like this video, subscribe if you want to hear more real-life stories like mine, and share your final thoughts in the comments, because I truly want to know what you would have done. I'll see you all in the next story.